It says now streaming live on YouTube. All righty, so we're going to be here for maybe about 45 minutes to an hour. If you see me looking back and forth, it's because I got a couple of Alrighty, so it's going to be about 45 minutes to an hour. It's going to be amazing. I have so much information to go over and share with you guys. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions, so I want you guys to be high energetic. Make sure you are taking notes. Make sure you ask me all of your questions, because when you leave this live today, I want you to really be able to understand what it is that is preventing you from having the hair growth that you're looking for, and how you can successfully transition into becoming a forever grower. I have all of the notes here, because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything when I'm going live. So I have plenty of notes to make sure that I cover everything as promised, as far as the steps that you're going to need to take to reverse it. I got everything on mute so that I can minimize all distractions. I suggest that you do the same so that you can make sure that you get all the information that you need, because it's a Saturday and it's 3 o'clock, and I'm sure you have, you know, other things that you can be doing. So again, I want to thank you for being here with me today on this Saturday. I'm so elated. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As I stated, my name is Talitha, aka the Natural Hair Confidant. And in this masterclass, we are going to be talking all about why your hair is not growing back and what you can do to reverse your traction alopecia. I want to thank you guys for being here today. It's an honor to share this Saturday with you. And just for showing up, I have a gift here for all of you who make it to the very end. It is a free ebook that has 125 natural hair recipes that you can use in order to decrease the anti-aging effects, increase your strength, and naturally undo any toxic damage that has been caused to your strands through all of the things that we've been doing that made us end up in the situation that we're in. So make sure you stick around to the end. That's going to be amazing. I'm going to give it to you for free. So if you don't get nothing else, at least you're going to get a way that can help you reverse your traction alopecia, even if you have to buy some of the spices, but it's all natural. You don't have to worry about buying any products. And it's 125 different ways to strengthen it. So that's very important. So if that's all right with y'all, type in the chat if you think that's okay, if that sounds good to you. But I know you guys have probably been taken advantage of by countless products that claim they were going to work, wasting your money and your time for you not to have any growth. Because if it worked, you wouldn't be here with me today, right? Trying to figure out why it's still not working. If this is you, type "I'm sick of it" in the chat. That's you, type "I'm sick of it" in the chat. Who's sick of it? I am. That's right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sick of it are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, who's sick of it? That's right. So was I. That is why I'm absolutely against wasting anybody's time. I hate wasting my time. It's the worst, so I'm not going to waste anybody else. So here's what I'm about to do. Just so we're as efficient as possible, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. The reason why I'm asking these questions is because I want to tailor all of the information that I'm teaching today to who is on this live with me right now, so that you can get the most out of it. And I'm not just sitting here talking, going back and forth, telling you stuff, and then it's not benefiting from you. So like I said, just so I don't waste your time, what is the number one problem that I can solve for you today? What's the number one problem that I can solve for you today? Do I have any questions? Are you watching the chat? Okay. And then let me know what your biggest hurdle is with growing your hair back. The number one problem I can solve for you today, and what has been your biggest hurdle with growing your hair back. It's like a few minute delay, so I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to type it in, because I want to make sure that I understand what your needs are so that I can speak to them. Helping with grow your edges. Okay. Around the temple area. Okay. Alrighty. So if you always been thin. Okay. So it sounds like you are in the right place today. This web class is designed not only to give you the clarity you need so you can understand why your hair isn't growing, but make sure you watch it all the way through, because I'm going to give you the exact steps today for free to help you grow your hair back. The same steps that I took to help me stop being embarrassed, worrying about my hair growth 24/7, fear of it being exposed. I was always worried about somebody finding out. The expense of having to hide it all, the upkeep of those wigs was more expensive than taking care of my own hair. But before I jump into why your hair isn't growing, let me give you a little bit of backstory of how I came to be in front of you today, so that you can get a clear picture on how I may be able to help you with growing your hair back. So if you didn't know, my name is Talitha, AKA the Natural Hair Confidant, and I am a registered nurse and a military veteran from none other than Atlanta, Georgia, the hair show capital itself. And just 4 years ago, in one way or another, I was just like you. I wanted my confidence back. I wanted to wear my natural hair freely without worry, if I felt like it. I wanted to look in the mirror and love the woman looking back at me instead of being ashamed of her. I wanted to have the courage to walk outside without having to worry about every gust of wind if my wig shifted or not. But I didn't know how to do it on my own. I just didn't know where to start. I was trying everything to grow my hair back, but I didn't know what exact things were going to make my hair grow. Because I have been struggling for a while with trying to grow my hair back. I was hopping from product to product. I was watching YouTube video to YouTube video, reading this blog and that blog, trying to make sure, or trying to learn what I needed to do and find that magic solution to grow my hair back, with my fingers crossed every single time. How many of you does that sound like? How many of y'all have been out here hopping from product to product, trying to figure out how to grow your hair back and going from this one to that one and haven't been able to actually find the way for it to work? I understood that my bald spot was from the tight wigs and the tight hairstyles and constantly laying down my edges and always flat ironing my leave out and trying to make the my hair look like the fake hair texture, which was crazy. Or always, hiding it under my wig. I understood that that was the reason why I was in the position that I was in. What I didn't understand was how to undo all of that and start growing it again. With everything that I was doing, nothing was happening. So I ended up telling myself, I just need to stop the madness. I was frustrated. I wasn't having any growth. I was like, I just need to go get help. I felt like I needed help from the professionals because they went to school, they studied for this. So I was like, why in the hell am I on YouTube listening to people who don't have degrees and probably don't have a clue about how to help me in my hair loss? So I went to my dermatologist, who put me on a medicine that was intended to make my hair grow within 3 months or so. My bald spot went from the size of a quarter to the size of my palm. Literally, more hair fell out than when I started. I went to a professional and was worse off than when I started. Worse. So I was kind of stuck. I was baffled because it was kind of like, well, what am I going to do now? All those hair oils I was trying wasn't helping. My immediate thought was, I think I'm just going to be stuck like this forever, because if the dermatologist can't help me, who was going to help me? If I didn't know what to do, who was going to help me? The blogs, the YouTubes, the oils. So I sat with that for a few weeks, feeling sorry for myself. Then I eventually accepted my defeat. My hair loss was the worst it had ever been. It was the biggest it had ever been. And I was the most fed up that I had ever been. I didn't even know how I had let myself get in that position. I didn't know how I let that happen. I was so lost. It seemed as if I had nowhere to go and I didn't know what to do next. But what I did know was that I did not want to be stuck like that forever. There was no way that I could just be like that forever. It wasn't like I had some terminal disease or I had cancer. Like I just wore some wigs and some tight hairstyles. There's no way that I could possibly ever just stay like that forever. So I ended up pulling up my big girl panties, and I took hold of the reins. I realized no one can tell me more about my hair than me. I also had to think about the history of the hair industry and us. For the longest time, we didn't think that we could even grow our hair down to waist length. And then think about like what they did with the perms and how it caused fibroid tumors. So I knew that there was a possibility that what my dermatologist was taught in school wasn't the end all to be all. There might be another way. So I started doing a lot of research. Thankfully, I leveraged my biology, my nursing, and my chemistry background. And I ended up coming up with a clearer understanding of what needed to happen, why I wasn't having the growth I was expecting, and I was ready to try it out. So when I was doing all this research at the time, I was in school to be a nurse practitioner and I was working as an emergency room nurse. Everybody had heard about what had happened because as nurses, what we tend to do is when you run into a bad doctor, we tend to share that information so then we can go and share it with our families. So everybody knew that the doctor had made my hair loss worse. So there was really no way that I could hide it. But at the time, I was currently rocking like really tight buns because, like I said, I was working in the ER and working and sweating, patients spitting on you. You want to have it nice and secure. So that was my go to. My plan was, though, because at the time I had a shaved area in the back of my head. My plan was if I didn't get any growth, I was going to take that shaved area all the way around because I remember when Tamar had lost her edges, she shaved her head and then her hair started to grow back. But I didn't really want to shave my head. That was going to be the absolute last resort. That was just how desperate I was feeling at the time. So I came up with my hair growth oil through a lot of trial and error. I found the right combination of growth and carrier oils, and the combination was working for me. So by maybe like the third or fourth month, I was able to come out of hiding and I didn't have to wear those headbands around my hair anymore. And the nurses I was working with, they saw that my hair was starting to grow back. And they was like, what are you using to grow your hair back? And I was like, oh, it's just some stuff, I'm making at the house. Because like I said, at this time, I was on the road to being a nurse practitioner. I had made plans to have my own clinic. I had no dreams, goals, or aspirations on starting any kind of hair company. I didn't want to talk to nobody about growing hair. That just wasn't the plan I was on. I was laser focused on becoming a nurse practitioner. I only had a year left of school, and that was my route. So they asked me if they could, if I could make them some. And I started to make it and I started to bring it to them. And this went on for a few months. Now, by this time, my hair was growing back because I was natural prior to me losing my edges and, going through everything. So I knew what things once they started growing to do to help strengthen it and make it stronger. So my hair was growing back and I had kind of got a little lax with bringing everybody else's their stuff, but they still needed it. So they kind of teamed up and one person was going to get it, another person was going to distribute it, another person text me because it had been a couple of weeks and I kept forgetting. And they text me and I'm always running late. Of course, I was running late that morning. I had made it, but I left it on my table. Get to work, and they was like, "Did you bring the oil?" And I was like, "Oh, I forgot it. I'm so sorry. I promise I'm gonna bring it tomorrow." And I could tell she had an attitude, but I had been telling her, so I knew she was gonna be mad. It was okay. But about halfway through the shift, I realized that nobody was talking to me. And we were a pretty tight knit group. We ate together every time we worked, we helped each other out. And when I say nobody was talking to me and they was giving the cold shoulder, nobody was talking to me. And I didn't quite understand why. So I went to one of them and was like, y'all can't be this mad. Like, y'all done order food without me, and what's really going on? And this was the picture that she showed me. This was how she looked under her wig. And when I saw this, one, I was amazed because I didn't realize people look like that under there. I thought people were wearing wigs every day because they thought it was cute, not because they had to. And so I also felt bad because here I am complaining about some thin, one little thin bald spot on the side of my head, and she looked like that. So I understood why she needed it, because she explained to me my product was the only thing that was working. And she actually offered to pay me just to make sure I brought it. This was the moment where I realized the gold nugget that I had created, not because she offered to pay me, but because she said that nothing else, had worked. So I was like, okay, sure. I continued to bring it. I gave it, and they all started to have growth. But what really kind of took me back was I started to think that if I was having the difficulty, she was having the difficulty, there are more people out there and it wasn't just me, right? Because I can remember all of the horrible memes that go around about people and their hair loss, and African American women are not embraced when we're exposed. We're ridiculed. So it kind of made me feel bad because those are celebrities who have people that they pay to do their hair. What about the people that's just sitting at home, and what are they going to do? And so I felt like I needed to help people grow their hair back. So I started my company in 2017, started having sales right out the gate. I was happy. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm on the right road, right? The original. Then I started to get conflicting emails. I get an email this minute that would say, this product is crap. I can't believe that you are selling this. It's not up to par. And then I get another email praising me, talking about it was the best thing ever. And thank you for making it. And my mama wants some. And this person wants some. So I was a little confused. The original goal was to help them grow their hair back, not just take their money. I felt horrible, but I knew I needed to find out why some women were having growth and some women weren't. So I stopped selling it. I thought, maybe it was a fluke. Maybe the reason why it only worked for some people because I don't know, it just didn't work for everybody. But I knew I couldn't sell a product to half. I don't know why I naively thought that if everyone I knew was using it, that it was going to work for everybody else that bought it, because I can remember being on Amazon and other places and reading reviews of people saying like, oh yeah, this product is amazing, it works great, and they got all these stars, and then I get it and nothing happened. So I don't know why, I thought that would happen. Has that ever happened to any of y'all? Have y'all ever experienced any of that before, where you saw a product, bought the product, and then when you got it, it didn't work for you? Has that ever happened to any of y'all? I wasn't quite sure why I originally thought that, but I did. So I knew there had to be a logical reason that it was happening. So I went on the hunt and I found it. And that is exactly what I'm going to teach you guys on this live web class. So the first thing that I'm going to teach you is how I was able to stop being scared of the wind because I was so afraid of my hair loss being exposed. I would teach you the exact methods I learned to try to start to grow my hair healthy and stronger again. The second thing is I learned the real reason why my hair wasn't growing, which not only gave me the next steps of how to reverse my traction alopecia, but it allowed me to continue to grow it without being chained to a product forever. That is the goal. The goal is to find a product, let it help you, then never need it again. That is the goal. And because I knew what I needed to do to grow my hair back, I also knew what not to do anymore. Knowing what not to do helped me understand why none of those products I was using was working. I'm going to show you the exact steps you need to take in order to reverse your traction alopecia and how to grow your hair back too. So let's get ready to hop into this training. I'm so glad to have y'all here with me getting this information and this knowledge. I just want to make sure that y'all are with me. Please bear with me. I want to see if there are any questions. Are there any questions on YouTube? Okay. So, all righty. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. All righty. So, once you suffer from traction alopecia, it starts what I like to call a ripple effect. And a ripple effect is basically when you do something and like a wave, it causes a ripple effect of other things to happen. So the first thing that you have suffered from is traction alopecia. Traction alopecia is defined as the gradual, meaning like slowly losing your hair over time by pulling, yanking, tugging, force being applied to your hair. It can be from ponytails, pigtails, tight weaves, wig bands, anything that causes excess tension and pulling on your hair will yank your hair out of its follicle over time. Now, what that does is it leads to shock loss. Now, before I jump into what shock loss is, let me have some physicians, because y'all know I'm a nurse and I love my doctors. Let me have some physicians explain it to you just a little bit better, and then I'll go more in depth. There are two things that I want you to take away from the video, so make sure you listen and pay attention.
A lot of movement on the scalp, so this will really help create a minimal scar for Mike. If everything goes as well as it should, hair follicles should grow through whatever little scar that he has. Look at how well it's coming together with nothing. Nothing. It's no tension. Tension is what kills hair. I'm very optimistic for Mike's surgery. But you never know. One of the things you worry about when you do a scar revision is that you can get shock loss, which is basically a wide area of hair falling out for about 6 to 8 months. This can happen even when you do everything perfectly, and Mike, please understand that. Wow, I'm really pleased with this, aren't you? It closed.
All righty. So the first thing that I need you to take away from the video is he said tension kills hair. What did I say traction alopecia was again? Uh-oh. Traction alopecia is the pulling, tension, traction, pulling out your hair follicle, the trauma of pulling out your hair follicle. Shock loss is defined as shock loss results from trauma to the scalp. So when you pulled and yanked out your hair follicle, it caused trauma. Just like anything else, if I was to yank my arm out of socket, it's going to cause trauma. If I was to yank my knee, anything that you yank from its original position is going to cause trauma. The same exact thing happened with your scalp. It just wasn't as noticeable because it was under your scalp, because that's where your hair follicle is located. The second thing that I want you to pay attention to is he said that any hair that was harmed during the surgery will easily grow through the scar. Now, you haven't had a scar from surgical revision, although you've had trauma, but your hair follicle isn't growing through it. Why? That is what we are going to be talking about today. And that is the thing that you're going to have to pay attention to that's going to help you reverse it. So once someone starts to lose their hair, because shock loss happens over a period of time from 6 to 8 months. So once someone starts to suffer the trauma from their shock loss, it causes psychological horror because nobody wants to walk around with a bald head. I mean, we saw how they do celebrities, and you definitely don't want to walk around like that. So that's why everybody's so afraid of it being exposed. So that brings me to the next thing that people do, which is they cover it up with a wig. Now, the natural hair community will have you thinking that a wig is a nice protective style. That's the second ripple effect, and it is wrong. A wig is a protective style when you have undamaged hair follicles. When you have damaged hair follicles, it's horrible. And the reason why it's horrible is because your wig being on your head creates sweat. Sweat has a chemical in it known as lactic acid. Lactic acid destroys keratin. Keratin is the strong protein that your hair is made of. So it is what gives your hair its strength. It is what gives your hair its structure. It is on the inside of your strand. So basically, you wearing your wig every day creates sweat. That sweat then starts to break down the inside of your strand. You've already had damage from the traction alopecia. And so now your shock loss then starts to spread because you're also damaging your strands. Do y'all see how this now turns into a ripple effect? One thing after another, after another, after another causes damage because you're not knowledgeable or because you are misinformed, I should say. And so once you have your sweat and your keratin starts to build up, which is the critical part of your hair strand, once it starts to do that, then your hair becomes dry, brittle, and rough. And that also creates the next ripple effect, which makes it dry. If y'all look at any pictures on the internet of people losing their hair, including these clients here, it all looks dry. They look like, Brillo pads. And most of it isn't like this because they're not doing the moisture. Your keratin surrounds cuticles, and your cuticle is what holds the moisture in. And so if there are holes poked in the protein, there are also holes poked in the cuticle, which is how you end up getting high porosity. That's why high porosity isn't a normal form of porosity. There is low and then there's normal. High is normally from damage because you have so many holes that the moisture goes in to your hair because there's a hole at the top, and it goes right through it because there's a hole at the bottom. So the number one way to reverse this and re-strengthen your strands is to know your hair porosity. How many people here know their hair porosity? Oh, it's very low. Oh, the video was low? Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I should have you on the Zoom instead of the. Could you understand it at all though? Oh, you don't know your porosity? Okay. So knowing your porosity, I'm sorry about that, guys. Knowing your porosity is what's going to keep your hair from losing its moisture and help strengthen your strands as well as rebuild it. But the best way to know your hair porosity is to do a water strand test. It isn't the most reliable. The most reliable is just actually looking at your hair, because if you have beads of water or if the product sits on your hair, then you probably have low porosity. But what you do is you get a strand of clean hair and you put it in water for 3 minutes. If it stays on top of the water, you have low porosity, because low porosity hair doesn't let water easily in. Normal porosity means it floats somewhere in the middle. And if it sinks all the way down to the bottom, that's the damaged high porosity hair. And so the damaged high porosity hair brings me to the next ripple effect. It brings me to the problem that is with the hair industry that's keeping all of us stuck in a hair loss cycle. And that is telling us that we need to concentrate on our hair follicle. So your hair follicle is not where your hair grows new strands, which is the problem and issue. You grow new strands in your hair base from your hair bulb. The hair base contains cells that regenerate and split to form the new strands. The only way that you can form new strands is by the cells regenerating and splitting to form. The only way that they regenerate and split is nutrients. If you are not getting nutrients like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin C through your diet, you have to get it down to the base through the use of carrier oils that carry down growth oils. Because there's no other way to manipulate cells in order for them to perform and do their job. The other way that that is required is through oxygen. Increased oxygen from increased blood circulation from the air, period, not covering it up with the wind, with your wig, is the second way. So all of these things have now created a ripple effect. And this is the main reason why you are stuck not receiving the hair growth that you're looking for, because everything that you're doing isn't attacking these problems. The problem is the hair bulb that is affected by the lack of nutrients, that is affected by the lack of proteins and strands and moisture getting to strengthen it. All of that is the reason why you are not having the growth that you are seeking. So, how do you do that? It starts and it begins with you. The hair growth techniques that we do today produce the strong strands of tomorrow. If you are not doing things to strengthen your strands, to uplift them, you are not going to have the hair growth that you're looking for. If your beautician, your salon, or whatever you go to, if they are not having this conversation with you, you are not going to have the hair growth that you are looking for. And hopping from this product to that product, that's not where it's at. That those most of the products on the market are not focused on the hair base. They're focused on the hair follicle, which is not helping you. Strengthening a weakened hair follicle is not going to get you to fill in your bald spot or get you to produce any new strands. That is the main purpose of my program, the Push program. It's a cute and clever name, but it stands for exactly what it is that you need to do. You need to purge your scalp of toxins so that you can get the nutrients down to the hair base that are required to regenerate the cells to produce the new strands. Then you need to get the nourishment under there so that it can start to grow, and it can grow strengthened and healthy, so that once it grows, it doesn't fall out. Because you're not going to be able to go from not wearing a wig to automatically wearing a wig. It's going to be a process. You're going to have to fill in that bald spot for you to get more comfortable to completely come out of your wig, which is going to require you to do things to strengthen your new growth and keep the strands on your head. And that's where the S comes into play. Strengthening techniques. And then the H is healing holistically, meaning mind, body, and soul. Once you get your mind right, the rest is going to follow. So there you have it, ladies. I would like to take the time to thank you. I want to see if you guys have any questions regarding any of the information that I have shared with you. Let's see. Doesn't look like we have any questions. All righty, so then I am going to get ready to end this program. I'm gonna go live again here within the next few days. If you want to come back. If you think of any more questions, feel free to email me. My email is info@nogrowth2forevergrowth.com. I'm sure you guys all received it. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you here. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You're so welcome. All righty, guys. Take care.